This is the last video you're ever gonna have to watch on Nice Girl Syndrome. You are gonna get those high standard friendships, relationships, and that high self-esteem in 2026. I am gonna make sure of it. You will walk away today knowing what Nice Girl Syndrome is, all of the signs to see exactly how and if you are a victim to it, the rules when it comes to getting out of Nice Girl Syndrome so you never fall back into it again, my own success stories and how it's worked for me, and right at the end I'll also give you affirmations to speed up your healing process. Just a quick note, I've used this to go from the shy, bullied kid who attracted the most toxic relationships, the most heartbreaking friendships, to becoming this confident, secure, detached woman who now chooses who enters her life, and every single one of them loves and respects her. So I know what I'm talking about. Let's get into it. Nice Girl Syndrome is just people-pleasing repackaged. So healing the Nice Girl Syndrome is all about reprogramming your mindset into thinking, I no longer have to hide or play small to be safe. I don't have to carry the emotional weight that isn't mine. And I am no longer afraid of being seen imperfectly or being misjudged. When we fear how others perceive us, we never stop performing. We put others on a pedestal and then we keep asking them to give us their validation, to like us. We lose all our authenticity to make others comfortable. The best thing Cheryl Lee Ralph said is, people don't have to like you, they don't even have to respect you, but when you look in the mirror, you better love what you see.
And to all of you watching here, come close to the screen and listen. People don't have to like you. People don't have to love you. They don't even have to respect you. But when you look in the mirror, you better love what you see. You better love what you see.
There's a version of you in the past that learned she had to hide parts of herself to be safe. She was complimented on being quiet and compliant, but was shamed when she was being assertive, when she got angry or had boundaries. There's also nothing wrong with wanting to be likable, because studies show today that not being liked is linked with social rejection, and social rejection hurts just like physical pain. Nice Girl Syndrome is you believing that if you become your authentic self, if you're actually being your true self, you might end up saying something that makes people think you are somebody you're not. People might think you're a bad person, you're a mean person, you're a rude person, they might even cancel you. But if you keep living that way, you'll only align yourself with fake friendships, with manipulative partners, because you've learned to put people on a pedestal and you keep trying to make them like you. But that only attracts people who truly believe they are on a pedestal, they're better than everybody else, and who gain joy from making you crave their validation. But if you decide to break free of it, you will attract people who are not uncomfortable when you shine bright, and who know you and love you for who you truly are and whatever you stand for. It'll cut away all the excess noise and surface level friendships. But let's be honest, that wasn't gonna last anyway. So why is this and how does it affect you? Let me break it down and give you two different scenarios to really help you ingrain this concept in your brain. This is Stefella. Stefella grew up being the peacemaker in the house. She never speaks up when someone offends her because she doesn't want to be one of those girls who gets offended and can't even take a joke. She doesn't even want to be rude, so she never truly stops hanging out with such people. She also puts the wants of others over her own needs and never speaks up because she thinks she'll be better off if she makes everybody happy and avoid conflicts at all costs, even if it means abandoning her own feelings and needs. She constantly puts others first, and therefore others and she herself loses respect for her. She also hates confrontation so much that she would much rather learn to stay with someone who's always hurting her than do something about it. She runs away from every opportunity that gives her the spotlight because if people see her, they might reject her. And anyway, she doesn't find anything she does worthy because she's a perfectionist and she will always find flaws in everything she does. That leads to burnout, exhaustion, and endless procrastination. In the end, she just quits on herself because nothing is ever good enough. She misses every opportunity to regain her own confidence and then feels bad, feels guilty about feeling jealous of her own friends who are doing better than her. In relationships, she says yes, even when she doesn't want to, because she doesn't want to hurt the other person and she doesn't know how to say no. She ignores all the red flags, often falls for manipulators, and when somebody love bombs her, she falls hard because now she feels obligated. She also fights even harder to keep a guy who is pulling back instead of breaking away from that. Because what will people think if she breaks up over such small inconveniences? She is now grown accustomed to disrespect and low standards for life and for the relationships in her life. She thinks all men are the same, and she no longer believes in love. If she continues making her decisions based on how people see her, how others perceive her, what will others think of her, she will continue explaining herself to people who have already made up their minds about her, who have no interest in listening to her or understanding her point of view. She will even constantly demean herself just so that people don't think that she is full of herself or egotistic, and that slowly turns into self-hate. She will try to change herself and keep asking people, begging people to stay in her life, and then wonder why even the people who wanted her first left. She will stop taking chances because she simply does not trust herself anymore. She never goes after what she wants because her need for perfectionism stops her in the way. It freezes her and it makes her see flaws in everything she creates. She has no opinions of her own and often looks at others to figure out what she should believe in. That affects her career, her love life, and her self-image until she has forgotten how to be herself. And then she falls victim to a life that she herself created. So that is Stefella's situation. Now let's look at Anne. Anne works on getting rid of nice girl syndrome every single day. She's not someone who doesn't get affected by what others think at all, but she gives herself grace. She is just trying to make her decisions based on her values and not based on how others will feel about her decisions. She makes her moves and hopes for the best. Even if she fails, she learns instead of worrying about looking like a failure. Her confidence and self-image are at an all-time high because she makes decisions that make her happy, that make her soul happy. And she cuts people off that disrespect her or refuse to see or acknowledge her boundaries. Every time someone says or does something that she doesn't agree with, she notices how her body tenses up, she acknowledges that discomfort, and speaks her mind regardless. She knows her past versions had to learn how to play small to survive, but she doesn't need that anymore. So she relearns and practices to take up space once more, to speak her mind once more. She knows it will upset some people, and it will even offend others, but it's not her job to carry emotional weight of others. She breaks up when others break her boundaries. And she knows that not everybody will appreciate her high standards for life. But unlike Stefella, she knows that she doesn't have to be liked or understood by every single person. She understands that people project their own past selves and beliefs onto others, and so she knows that the only person that she needs to earn that respect from is herself. She knows that others are also performing versions of themselves, and so she doesn't have to put anybody on a pedestal. She stops changing herself on the outside and does things that actually grow her self-confidence and self-esteem. In doing so, she creates this new identity internally that is so strong and so unbreakable that others' perceptions literally doesn't move her anymore. She says yes to opportunities even though they scare her, because she's ready to be seen intentionally, not accidentally. She chooses visibility over ghosting her own potential. She does not hide who she is to prevent misunderstanding. Sure, she feels discomfort too, but if she had nice girl syndrome like Stefella, she would shrink, hide, or run. But instead, Anne stays with the discomfort and does what she needs to do anyway. And eventually, she stops caring completely. She turns into somebody that she actually respects, and in doing so, she ends up attracting more people who love and respect her for who she is. There still are people who misunderstand her, but she no longer gives them access to her life. And because she is so full of love and joy and happiness that their loss feels like divine protection. She knows it's important to be kind and considerate, but keeping your values, having boundaries, and speaking up are also an important part of a secure and happy life. Why did I pick these names? I'll explain in a minute. Now, to conclude on the definition of nice girl syndrome, some people will say this concept is toxic and it's selfish, but it actually makes you a more considerate and kind person because you choose to stay with people that you truly care about and not out of lack or fear of being alone. People respect you when you stand up for yourself because in doing so, you give them permission to do the same. And while it does offend some people, who wants to be everybody's cup of tea? Even the most popular people, the most visible people are equally hated and loved. Because you cannot please everybody else and still be authentic. You will piss some people off. And the more authentic and visible you are, the more opinions people will have on you, and the more important it is that you stay away, that you get rid of nice girl syndrome. As Tom Holland once rightly said, if you have a problem with me, text me. And if you don't have my number, you don't know me well enough to have a problem with me.
If you have a
problem with me, text me. And if you don't have my number, you don't know me well enough to have a problem with me.
So many people, especially women, are held back from their own potential and the lives they could be leading because of nice girl syndrome. Because of what will people say, what will people think. She thinks it's better to stay in a toxic relationship than get a divorce and be called the girl who couldn't even manage a marriage. It's better to struggle through a toxic workplace than be called weak or spoiled. And they think it's better to never create art than have others reject it. Ending nice girl syndrome is making sure that you get the best out of life because you're no longer afraid of walking out of places, of calling people out who don't serve you, who disrespect you.
Yeah, I get it, but it's easier said than done because you're already confident.
The girl I just told you about, Stefella? Yeah, well, that was me. I created that name during my Facebook days because I wanted something to make me appear different and cool because I needed that external validation. I had no real friendships. I was continuously attracting the most toxic and one-sided relationships. And I couldn't even break them up because I was so afraid of hurting somebody and then being called a bitch or a bad person. I even loved to sing, but I would always shy away from it because I didn't want others to find out that I'm actually not that good. And Anne is who I posted as on YouTube a while back when I started getting rid of nice girl syndrome. I was afraid of what people would think or say, but I showed up anyway. This was my rebellion. I even made a music page and I openly post everything. It doesn't matter what people think of it because I am doing it for me and I believe that I am good. I say yes to opportunities regardless of how ready I feel. I refuse to put my life on hold until everybody is comfortable with my vision for life, with my standards for life. Earlier, I would mock myself before anybody else could, and I ran from opportunities because I was so afraid of being considered an imposter. I dodged every rare compliment because
If I agreed, what would people think? Am I full of myself?
the biggest example of this is that a few years back, I dated a guy who was pursuing me even though I told him I had no interest in dating at the time. But he wore me down because he told me all these sob stories and at the end, I just didn't want to hurt him anymore. I figured I'll make it work. Later, that guy became obsessive, controlling, verbally abusive, mentally exhausting. He would make it appear as if I was a bad person every single time I held my boundaries or had some standards for the relationship. I even had to distance myself from my friends just to avoid his fit of jealousy because truly it had become exhausting. I wanted to break it off a million times, but I just couldn't because he told me how every single one before me left him and I didn't want to be another one of those girls. Yes, you attract manipulators. So I stayed way longer than I should have in a relationship that I didn't even want to be a part of to begin with. Now, recently I was talking to somebody, okay, and it was a nice conversation. Everything was going smoothly until one day I realized, you know what? I don't think this is right for me. I don't think I'm in that headspace right now to continue this. It had been a couple of days. What did I do? Unlike Anne, who would have either ghosted him or first continued the conversation hoping that someday it'll just eventually break off, I communicated. I told him it wasn't gonna work and I wished him the best. Since then, I have also removed people from my life who did nothing else except break my boundaries a little bit, who didn't treat me the way I asked them to treat me, because if somebody does not even want to acknowledge your boundary, that's not your person. And because of that, even though I don't have a gazillion people in my life, I have people who truly respect me and treat me the way I deserve. Because if someone doesn't want to work on themselves, it is not my job to be patient or fix their life for them. As for the first guy that I mentioned, he spread so many rumors and he literally used our breakup for so much content, suggesting that I broke up with him for somebody else. I broke his heart like every other girl. He was so loyal and I was so whatever. And of course it angered me because I was being quiet, I was silent, and he was there painting me out to be the villain. But that was just the confirmation that I did the right thing walking out of that relationship. I did not explain myself to anybody because I understand that if somebody knows me, they'll ask me. If somebody wants to know my side of the story, they will ask me. And if they're not asking, they have already picked a side to believe and they are not interested in whatever I have to say. So it's okay, he can paint me as a villain if that makes him feel better. To finish this off, I've gone through periods in my own life where I've tried to control the narrative, or I've even tried to hide parts of me to be more likable. And when somebody says to me that you are such a nice person, of course it felt good. But you have to understand, people will always try to put the nice girl on a pedestal because she is more convenient. She is easier to manipulate. So continuing to do that, even after realizing and being aware of what it does to your self-esteem, what it does to who you are as a person, That is the quickest way to fall into the nice girl trap.
Okay, I see, I've been doing this and I'm ready to change, but where do I start?
Girl, I got you. So there are 6 techniques that have proven to be the most effective for me. You don't have to do all of them in steps, but I'm just gonna give you a quick explanation of all of these practices and then you can decide how you want to proceed with them. This is exactly how I beat nice girl syndrome. Step 1, expose yourself to people's judgment. If you can never go out without makeup, you pick a day and you go out without any makeup. And if it's the opposite, you never wear makeup, you don't feel comfortable, then you pick a day and you do your makeup and you wear a bold lip or a bold eye. Lately, I've been doing this where I will wear an outfit that I really want to wear, but I never do, and I change because I feel like my tummy is showing or maybe my face looks too bloated. I will literally wear that outside. I will do something to get myself exposed to judgment. Let people give backhanded compliments, let them comment, let them stare, and then observe how it feels in your body. How does social rejection feel in your body? How does people's opinions and judgments feel in your body? You can always leave the space if it feels like too much. Step 2, make a list of all the things that you're tolerating because you're afraid of speaking up. It can be as big as getting a divorce or having a breakup or moving out of your family's house, and as small as removing a friend from social media, canceling an event that you agreed to simply out of peer pressure. You get the idea. Step 3, make another list of your standards and your values. It is hard to stick to your boundaries when you don't even know what they are. It's hard to choose your values when you have no idea what you stand for. And sometimes the reason we never bother to find them out is because we don't want to go through the discomfort of sticking to them. Whenever a moment comes where you have to choose between your values or pleasing somebody else, you pick the former, even if your voice shakes, especially if your voice shakes. Step 4, anchor yourself internally. To truly get rid of nice girl syndrome, you have to believe you are a nice girl. You have to believe you are kind, you're compassionate. Only then can you stand up for yourself. So be very aware of your self-talk. If someone offends you, you don't join them. You pause, you look at them straight in the eye and you let them know this is no longer acceptable. My rule is simple. If you can't change the person, you change the person. I also like to do mirror work and practice positive self-talk through affirmations, which I will tell you at the end of this video. Like hyping myself up for a decision that I took even though it was uncomfortable, celebrating my small wins, and even practicing little moments of setting boundaries and speaking up, like telling the waiter if you got the wrong order, even if you choose not to return it, or telling your hairdresser that you didn't like the way they did it and you want something different. That is definitely a great place to start. Step 5, start doing things imperfectly on purpose. One way to do it is through a journal that I recommended in this video. It has pages that encourage you to make a mess to get out of that perfectionistic state of mind. And it's surprisingly healing. You can also practice it without buying the book by coloring outside the lines, by singing badly or dancing badly just because you want to move or you want to sing, or complete a painting that you never finished because you're afraid of ruining it. Step 6, lastly, do things for yourself and for others without expecting anything. Now, you don't have to make a huge donation anonymously, but you can tip somebody before they see you or compliment a stranger. I personally love to get dolled up and then go to places where I know there won't be a lot of crowd. This way, I detach my worth from the validation of others. So I'm getting dolled up and there's nobody to see it, and that's okay. I'm beautiful because I said so. I am kind because I said so. I am nice because I said so. And I believe it so much that no matter what you say, it's not gonna move me. You are already so secure and so aware of who you are that no matter what others think of you, it never moves you. That is the strongest cure for nice girl syndrome. There are 2 very important rules when it comes to beating nice girl syndrome and making sure that it never controls your life or your decisions ever again. Let's go through it. Rule number 1 is do the step 1 that I told you and expose yourself often. Put yourself in these situations frequently. Otherwise, you fall back into your old self again and again, and every single time that you restart this process, it is going to get uncomfortable again and again. A very good example of this is that I live in a town where people are yet not that familiar with the concept of solo dating. So the first time I went on a solo date all dolled up, there were some concerned faces. And a guy sitting over there even texted me later saying that he felt so bad for me, that he wished I had better friends. He made it look like I had no friends, even though I told him that it was intentional, it was a solo date. Another friend reposted a picture of my solo date with the caption that he's looking for somebody to take me out because I have to go on my own. And at first I used to get so offended and I would try to explain myself to no use. But now I have stopped explaining. I just do it because I enjoy it, and it's okay if everybody doesn't get it. But then something happened and I stopped doing those dates for a while. And when I started again, I felt all that discomfort rushing back in. All those stares felt so loud once again that I stopped even noticing. And I knew that when a friend of mine that I recently met, she told me that she would never be able to sit like this in a restaurant and just be by herself. She would be so uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't even feel a thing anymore. But that made me realize that wasn't always the case. It's just that I keep exposing myself to this discomfort to the point where it doesn't even feel uncomfortable anymore. And rule number 2 when it comes to beating nice girl syndrome is practicing positive self-talk. You need to be secure in yourself and heal your self-image no matter what your past was like. You need to stop asking others to validate the decisions that you want to make. I was always considered ugly growing up, and it took a long time before my brain caught up to my reality that I had glowed up. So I was always looking for validation. And because of that, every single time I met somebody, I would still continue making jokes, mocking myself. I would constantly see my flaws and call them out in the mirror. And it was crazy because when I looked back at those pictures, and even the people who were with me at that time, they remember me as somebody who was fat or was overweight. This is how I looked. So everybody's memories of me and my own memories of me are not even what was the truth, simply because of how I was talking about myself at the time. So it is very important that you be extra aware of how you talk to yourself in private and how you talk about yourself in public. Taking compliments and accepting them does not make you an egotistic person. It makes you aware of your own beauty and goodness. And again, it also gives others permission to do the same, to accept their own power and their own beauty. Even if you didn't like the way you looked growing up, you are not the same anymore. You've grown now. Even if you weren't as smart or you were constantly compared, you have the choice to make a different life for yourself now. You can educate yourself more. And as far as comparison goes, there is no comparison because every single person from that time is leading a different life from yours. So you still using that same negative self-talk is literally outdated. It is neither relevant nor true. It's time you stop believing it and start believing in who you are and who you continue to become. Your past versions, sure, she helped you survive, but now she's only keeping you stuck in the past, so retire her. Tell her good job, but you can leave now. She's done her part, let her go with love. If you keep her along, then just like Stefella, you will continue living your life based on likes, dislikes, preferences, and beliefs and mindsets of people who are no longer relevant in your life, or even share the same values or ideals for life. Here on, your only compass is your values, is your standards for life, your higher self, and the only validation you need has to come from you, and then you're golden. Nice girl syndrome will never ever bother you again, and I know it feels very scary at first because you literally needed this to survive. But trust yourself that once it wears off, you will feel a freedom and a confidence in yourself like never before. It literally doesn't even matter what age you are, because I broke my nice girl syndrome in my 20s, and my mother, she broke her nice girl syndrome in her 50s. She's back to creating art. She's full of love and joy and happiness. She's also more secure now, and she has boundaries and she knows how to stick to them. She refuses to enter spaces where she's not respected, even if it offends somebody. The best part, she is the nicest person I know. She wouldn't even hurt a fly. But she finally knows it. So she's secure and she's still good. She's still kind, but she does it out of compassion, out of love, out of empathy, not out of guilt or out of shame or out of obligation. And most importantly, she never does anything at the cost of her peace and her values. And finally, let's finish this off with some affirmations to break the spell completely. And you can start using these today. I'm gonna send you off on your healing journey fully prepared. Just a quick reminder, the whole idea of this is to create a sense of security and validation that comes from the self for the self. But you can make up your own affirmations, you can translate them into your own languages, as long as they continue holding the same idea of self-validation, of confidence, of unapologetic boundaries, and of a positive self-image. So here are some of my favorite affirmations. They go like this. My needs matter. I am comfortable saying no to protect my peace and energy. My needs are just as important as everybody else's. I am worthy of respect, not just approval. I choose to speak up for myself with respect and confidence. I accept myself completely without needing to please everyone. I am not responsible for fixing other people's emotions. I release the need to be perfect. It is safe for me to set healthy boundaries. And the list goes on. You can journal them, say them out loud, or even put sticky notes all over your house so you can see them often. You might feel uneasy saying them at first. That's okay, but do not stop. If you think like Stefella, like,
it feels too uncomfortable, or I can't, or it's not that serious,
well, congratulations, you've fallen back into the trap. And these affirmations are just not gonna work if you think it's not that serious to set boundaries. Because your lack of care for your own needs and boundaries will just bring you back to square one. And that brings us to the end of this video. I have an entire playlist that goes deep into mastering self-love, and not just the bubble baths, but true self-love that makes you secure from your very core. Also, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to know how I show up for myself, the lessons I learn day to day, and how my life goes in general. I'm always posting on my stories. And lastly, 2026 is the year of the fire horse, which means I'm going to be posting a bunch of content to help you use this intense and passionate energy and channel it into creating lasting change and growth in 2026. So subscribe and stay tuned. Like this video if you found it helpful, and comment down below which part you loved the most, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!